Welcome to the Weeb Lounge. I'm Nick, and the anime we're going to be reviewing today is My Next Life as a Villainess. It is basically an isekai anime, but this time it's a reverse harem. Welcome back, everybody. Well, what is a reverse harem? A lot of people know what harem anime is, starting way back with Tenchi Muyo, right? You got a guy surrounded by a bunch of girls. Well, a reverse harem is basically a girl surrounded by a bunch of guys. Not that one meme. That's irrelevant. But basically, this one starts based off a game. Fortune Lover is the name of the game, and there's this girl that plays this Otome game called Fortune Lover. An Otome game is basically, a visual novel / dating sim for girls. All right. Well, she gets really engrossed in this, and this girl's in the real world is unnamed. We don't know her name. She goes to this other world somehow. We really don't know much about this, but basically she gets transported into this other world, and she has to live out this Otome game that she knows virtually everything about, inside and out. She spent all her days, all her nights playing this game. She knows every route of every character for the most part, and she's just a pro. So let's start out with Katarina. Katarina is the main girl protagonist character of this anime. She was alive, presumably in real life. Something happened, and she gets transported back into this game. Well, the thing is, she gets transported back into the child version of this game, okay? Like really early on in the whole storyline. And in the original game, Katarina is this real spoiled, good-for-nothing brat, okay? Being raised probably by the worst way possible, okay? Never disciplined, never nothing, and, later on in the actual game, she becomes like this major bully. She becomes the antagonist, and here's where her concern is, all right? Well, before I get to that, she basically gets transported back into this little girl, okay, while she's being a spoiled brat and stuff, and she falls, hits her head, and when she wakes up, she's transported into her body, okay? And she goes from being this spoiled little brat until being, a rather polite, energetic girl, like a complete personality shift, complete and utter personality shift. So this is where things start to change from the game itself. It starts to change immediately because, like I said, this girl's supposed to be a spoiled brat, bully, etc., antagonist. And now all of a sudden, when she's been reincarnated, I guess, she's all of a sudden like nice, outgoing, loving, eats a lot. Completely different character. So she shows up in this girl's body. Everybody's astounded, like, why is this spoiled little brat all of a sudden becoming like a nice little child and blah, blah, blah. And she starts to build relationships with all the other characters in the game. So let's start going over them, right? First up, we're going to do Alan, and I brought up the wiki because, I'm really bad with names and stuff, so I brought up the wiki so I can remember the names and the face, right? That's me. Alan is basically this guy that has pretty much no confidence about himself, all right? He comes off as rough and rugged, but he is like a master at playing the piano and such. He's more or less a tsundere, I guess you could say. That's probably the best way to put it. He's always up for a challenge. Katarina, who is known for climbing trees, at least in her normal life, which she brings over to the quote-unquote game life, and she kind of uses that as a foil on him or whatever. It's like, hey, if you can climb this tree faster than me, blah, blah, blah. And they end up forming this strong bond kind of through competition and such, and Alan just kind of grows up with her. Well, all these characters are going to grow up with her, but all the characters are changed a little bit from the game, what the game is supposed to be. Now, Katarina, the big arc of this whole thing, and Alan and all the other characters are included, is that she's trying to avoid the death flag, okay? In the game, Katarina is the bully, and basically in every end arc or whatever, she is killed off or sent into exile, right? And that is what Katarina has to either prepare for or avoid. The thing is, by her very presence, she's changing the characters, just like she did Alan. Okay, let's go to Gerald. Gerald, he was like this monotone, somewhat emotionless, like little kid, very noble, very proper. He's a prince. Ends up becoming, you know, the fiance, you know, Katarina and all this stuff, kind of unwittingly, right? Katarina is supposed to marry him, but he knows that she kind of agreed to it as off the cuff kind of thing, not serious, okay? So Geralt, you know, he's still working to try to gain her love and trust, right? Well, in the game, this guy is supposed to be like this sadistic dictator-like person, right? You know, when he gets older, he is just supposed to be mean, he is supposed to be more or less villainous, and just overall just a scumbag, right? But because Katarina, reincarnation, etc., becoming friends with her, he ends up changing his personality completely. He still is noble, he is still controlling, he is still has his head on straight and everything. But he's no longer like the cruel dictator guy, but rather more like a loving king kind of type. I guess you could call it that. I don't know. Basically, Katarina, you know, makes him have a better outlook on life. That's what she does with most of these characters, right? All right, now we got Keith, the brother. You know, you got to have the brother, sister, sis-con, bro-con kind of thing in like every anime known to man nowadays, right? It's not really this. Keith is brought into the family basically from another family. Like, he basically got disowned, okay? He's really strong in magic, and yes, there's magic in this realm. There's little bits of magic, and Katarina has a little bit, make a little bump in the sand or something. But Keith he's really strong. He can create golems, and he's like so strong he can't really control it completely, right? He caused some havoc for some people, maybe some deaths involved, maybe. And kind of gets shift off to that family takes responsibility, and Katarina ends up like not fawning over him as if, you know, in love, but rather, you know, hey, I got a brother now, sweet, all right, I'm going to treat him like a brother, I'm going to dote on him and everything. And it ends up, you know, Keith was supposed to become like this really depressed guy or whatever, damn near suicidal, all this other stuff. Katarina pulls him out of it. Okay, he's no longer this depressed guy. Instead, Keith is emphatically in love with Katarina now. Okay, now they are kind of raised as brother and sister, but they both know they're not really brother and sister. It's not really a brother-sister complex thing, even though it kind of is. It's got a dash of that in it. There's a dash of that in it. Anyways, Keith goes from being emo suicidal guy to being like very, very protective of Katarina and in love with her. So there's that. And then you have Nicole. Well, Nicole, I don't want to call him Nicole because that's his name. It is. This guy is probably like the plainest of the characters, I guess. And I don't think he actually changes all that much. This character, just by his stance, just by his presence, has all the girls fawning all over him, right? All the girls just like, he walks by, the girls faint, boom. You know, that's the kind of character this is portrayed as, right? But the thing is, he hardly ever says anything. You never really see him smile except on really rare occasions, and he's kind of just shut off from the world, right? He has a dim look on the world. And his character, after meeting Katarina, doesn't really change from that attitude, but it's a little bit more on the positive side. You know, in the game, it's more on the negative side, but in the anime, thanks to the reincarnation in Katarina, he starts looking at things with a little bit more pleasure and, you know, enjoying life, I guess you could say, instead of being mundane and just kind of going through the steps. So that's the guys. And yes, guess what? There's Yuri involved in all this. First up, we got Mary. Mary is like Cinderella, basically, okay? She's like the half-daughter, stepchild of whatever the heck. I don't know the specifics, but basically she's the one that's like all the other bigger sisters look down on, shun her, and say, you know, you're worthless, blah, 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 never be anything, you know, all that kind of crap, right? Well, as a result, Mary goes into a shell, kind of, you know, doesn't really do much, and, you know, she likes flowers, and meets Katarina, and Katarina very easily befriends her. Katarina is really, really easy to make friends with, okay? Really easy. Friends with anybody. It don't matter. Could be a skunk that just sprayed her. It's like, hey, yeah, kind of smelly and everything, but I like you, you know, that kind of stupid crap. Ends up befriending Mary, and Mary is now basically Gaga Yuri over her. Yeah, it's obsessive. Okay. Then you also have Sophia. Sophia is this, long white hair, red-eyed. She looks kind of like a demon in the typical anime sense, right? And she's always being made fun of by everybody else, saying that, she's cursed, she's evil, she's a demon, she'll, don't go near her or whatever, you'll be, fraught with unluckiness or bad luck. I said unluckiness. Okay, that's not a word, I don't think. English language. Anyway, Katarina, again, befriends her basically through books. Sophia's, kind of a bookworm, right? And Katarina likes books and blah, blah, blah. I guess they have an attachment through romance novels or something like that, big into it. And it takes Sophia from being basically this hermit shut-in that really doesn't want anything to do with society itself because of how she's looked down on, to basically coming forth and being a stronger character, not caring what other people think, and being really good friends with Katarina. Somewhat of a Yuri sense. And she also happens to be the sister of Nicole. So you have the emo, emotionless kind of guy whose sister is the red-eyed demon kind of... It's a thing. Yeah, you put them together. It's great. All right, and then that brings Maria. Now, Maria in the original game is supposed to be the main protagonist. She is supposed to be the one that all these other characters flock to, while Katarina is supposed to be the villainess, okay? She's supposed to be the one that, always antagonizing Maria. But the thing is, Katarina's reincarnated. She's no longer who she was. So now Katarina is being awesome friends with Maria instead of an arch enemy, rival, evil, bully, or whatever. So instead of them being, arch enemies, they become bestest buds. Maria is basically, just a country bumpkin or whatever. Polite, sweet, cooks cookies and other things, sweets and stuff that, of course, Katarina just devours all the time. Katarina has an endless stomach. But bottomless stomach, she just, she'll eat till she gets sick, and then after she gets sick, she'll eat some more. It don't matter. She don't get fat either. I wish I was like that. If I could eat without this, it'd be great. So, Katarina's whole goal was to avoid the death flag, okay? Which basically means, she has to avoid being the villainess, the bad person. Well, guess what? Nobody hates her. Nobody dislikes her. She's friends and lovey-dovey with everybody. And Katarina, of course, she takes the role of the typical clueless guy in other animes, all right? This is the typical clueless girl. All of these characters, every single one of them is in love with her. But it doesn't click in her brain. It's just, nothing just okay, I kind of get it now. I know why these people really like me. And they buy me things. And they hang around with me all the time. Oh my god. Okay, so the clueless protagonist kind of character and blah, blah, that's what this is. And this is where I'm going to have to start criticizing the show a little bit. Because early on, the whole goal is to her avoid the death flag. But the thing is, you also realize early on, there's nothing to worry about. The whole main point of the story, the whole tension that this story is built around, within the first episode and a half, that it's just not going to happen. It's just not, she's going to avoid it, blah, blah, blah. It's no mystery. It's not even really a spoiler because, you just watch and pay attention and it can't go that same route when all the characters are allowed to evolve naturally. If it was some kind of set script where they have to go through the paces, then that would be a lot of tension and be like, how the heck do I avoid this when everything is set in stone? But it's lighthearted, it's all good, but you already know. And plus, there is the hidden route character. Now, I don't want to give too much detail on this one, just so there's at least a little bit of a surprise for you guys. But essentially, in the original game, conquering this hidden route basically gets you the harem ending, okay? The normal endings or whatever is she picks this guy, or she picks this guy, or she picks this girl, whichever it is. The harem ending is she gets along with all of them. It's a good ending. I'm going to leave the details on that one out, but overall, I'd have to say that this anime is meh at best. I'm going to have to say that if you really want an anime that is it's just kind of a time waster, a light-hearted, decent show to fill the gaps in your life when you have nothing else to watch, then My Next Life as a Villainess can certainly fill that gap. But it is by no means any kind of classic or outstanding work, sadly. And with that, like, subscribe, hit that notification button. More videos to come as usual. And My Next Life as a Villainess, will it get a season 2? Well, there is a sequel to the supposed game, so it just might come to be.